From Autism and Neurodiversitycoaching. Today's topic is a trip to the supermarket as an autistic individual. Now, some people may be completely fine with it, they may have no problem whatsoever. Some people may sort of have some days where they're fine and some days they're not, sort of random anxiety issues where they may feel absolutely fine going, or they may just not want to go at all. Some may appear fine, but actually on the inside they're having like waves of anxiety or waves of individual meltdowns happening, and some may actually need to be sort of dragged there kicking and screaming. So firstly, I want to talk about what might happen to an autistic individual before setting off on the journey, because there might be a lot of trials and tribulations before actually setting off, before you even get anywhere near the supermarket. So firstly, an autistic individual may experience all of these symptoms or some of these symptoms or very little of them. First off, they may need to know how long it will actually take to get there. They may also want to know if there's any other visits or journeys that are going to be planned as well. And they may be constant, if they ask you the question and you sort of give them a vague answer, they may want a specific answer. They may want to know exactly how long it will take. Obviously, you can't say to the minute, the second, but you could say, well, probably between an hour and a half. And most autistic people should be okay with that. So at least they've got a rough idea how long it will take. And I think they'll also appreciate that you can't sort of time it to the minute. Now, another feeling they may have is they may be anxious, extremely anxious about going. They may have a little bit of anxiety. They may actually refuse to go and say they're not going, which obviously can bring on a lot of issues. You've got to decide whether you are going to take them or whether you're going to leave them, whether you're actually able to leave them at home. They may just need a bit of encouragement to go. You could say something like, it's only going to take an hour or two. Once we've done that, we can go back home and you can watch TV or whatever it is you want to do. Some autistic people may want to have a shopping list, or whether it's them asking you to write it out or them writing it out themselves. Some may want to have full control of doing the list so they can have some predictability about what's going to happen when they go shopping, because they may want to know whereabouts in the store they're going to be going. It also helps with knowing how long the trip may take. Some people may want to tick off each individual item as it's actually purchased. And like I say, some may just want to be sort of in total control of it. And the same with parking as well. Depending on whether the autistic individual is driving or not, they may want to have full control of where you're parking. So if they're driving, they may want to know the exact spot or the area they're going to be going to, or they may ask you where you're planning on going as well. They could actually be too anxious to drive. So if they normally do drive or they do a bit of driving, they may say, I don't sort of fancy it today. Thanks for background noise, cheers. Or they could just need a bit of sort of encouragement to drive. You could say to them, look, it's not going to be that bad, it's not that busy on the roads, it only takes 15 minutes to get there, etc. Now, in terms of public transport, if you're going on a bus or a train, etc., this can bring on a whole sort of different set of challenges potentially. Now, just with going in a bus or going on a train, either of them, an autistic individual may be worrying about where to sit. It could be thinking, is it going to be overcrowded? Are they going to be able to get a seat? They have to sit next to someone else. If there's three of you going in the car driving, they may think seats are in twos, so they're going to be the odd one out. They may be worried that one of you is going to be the odd one out. They may be worried about that. There could be lots of people around, so obviously that can bring on a lot of anxiety, a lot of different noises, a lot of different sensations. Hearing sort of visually as well, lots of different people moving about, it could cause problems. Now, another thing is if there's lots of people, they could be worried about whether to say hello as you're walking past someone. Also, as they're getting onto the bus or getting off the bus, they could be thinking, do I say hello to the bus driver or the conductor? Do I say bye to them? These are all things that they could be sort of worrying about. Also, if they see someone that they know, they could be worrying what they do, whether they say hello, whether they sort of pretend they've not seen him, or they hide, or whether they have a full-on conversation or just a brief hello to him as well. And then also finally the time of the day when you actually go in. If it's rush hour, if they're driving, that could be a concern because it's been overcrowded, or even if they're just in the car as a passenger, seeing all the different cars go past all the different people. It could be a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, where a lot of people may want to do the shopping, so they may again be overcrowded. People go to local supermarket, that may be an issue. And another reason is that they may already have plans themselves. So if you say, I want to go shopping today, and they say, no, I've already got plans, I'm watching TV, I've got some work to do, some college work. They may have strict sort of food or drink sort of schedules or routines where they have to eat at set times during the day. So that could conflict with that, which will be another reason why they actually want to know how long the journey may be. Or they could just be having a bad day. It could be, they have good days and bad days, and it could just be a bad day for them where they're struggling with anxiety, or that they're stressed about something else and they just don't want to go today. So the next part is actually arriving at the supermarket. If the autistic person is driving, or even if they're a passenger, an issue may be where to park. So if they're driving, they may be worried where to actually put the car. This could be down to sort of anxiety issues. They may see someone they know, or they may think they see someone they know. It could just be overcrowded, so they may want to park in a quiet spot so they're not surrounded by other people and other cars. If they do see someone they know, they may have the same problem as we discussed earlier, of whether to say hello to them, whether to avoid them, whether to hide or pretend they haven't seen them. Parking itself could be a skill that someone who is autistic may actually struggle with. So, for example, if they've got to reverse into a space, if they have dyspraxia, they may struggle with actually doing that. They may be capable of doing it, but they may struggle more than others. Obviously, if they're driving in the first place, they've got to learn how to reverse, but they may actually struggle with that. So they may need, if they're driving, they may need a person in the car to actually help them reverse, or to look out, not actually help reverse, but actually helping to say if there's anything behind them, or any moving people about. They could be worried about people watching, so they could actually be perfectly fine at driving the car or reversing it or pulling into space, but the anxiety of people watching them could actually make it a lot harder. So if they were driving on their own, there's no one there, they may actually be fine with that, which is why they may want to find a quiet space so no one's around so they can actually do that. And that will be better in a lot of cases, so you actually save time, with stress and anxiety and everything else. Then obviously getting into the space, they may actually struggle with that. If there's a car parked over one of the spaces, they may struggle, as anyone would. They may be conscious of where disabled spots are, so they might not naturally know where the disabled spots are. They may, if you're autistic and you can apply for a disabled badge, you can actually use one of those spaces if you've got the blue badge. You may be worried about using the spot and people saying, why are they in the disabled space, because there's nothing wrong with them or nothing that they're actually struggling with. So the autistic person may be able to use a disabled spot, but they may actually be worried about using what people may think or say. Now, like I said, they may want to park away from the area so there's less people to actually see them, there's less people to judge them as such, or they may want to park close to the store so there's less people to walk past when they get out, or they may struggle with walking, they may get fatigued a lot, so they may just want to do less walking, which obviously applies to a lot of people. It's not just an autistic thing, but if you suffer from fatigue more, it could be an issue. Now, physically walking into the supermarket could cause a challenge wherever you're parked, because you could be worried about how you're actually walking, whether you think you're walking weirdly, whether you think you're walking sort of too casually, where you've got your hands in your pockets, you think you're walking too casually. You could think you're coming across as arrogant because you're walking around, strutting around, or doing a funny pose or whatever. You could think you're coming across as looking really shy and timid because you're not looking up, you're sort of looking down all the time, so that could be an issue. And there's lots of different potential issues just literally doing a walk, just walking into a supermarket. So like I say, you could think you're too arrogant, too ignorant because you're not looking at anyone. You look weird, how you maybe your hands are flapping about, or you've got a weird sort of walk. And it's hard to actually come across as being normal as such. At the end of the day, you're just walking. And the other thing is, you walk past people that could bring on anxiety when you wouldn't normally have that if you're walking on your own. They could, if you're an autistic person, you could be worried about talking to strangers. If you're a parent of an autistic person, or a friend or a partner, they may have no concept of who to talk to or who not to talk to. So they may just walk past people and say hello, and it may come across as weird or unnatural or whatever. An autistic person may not know whether to say hello or not to someone, but they may be very conscious of that, so that may be an issue. And then on the other side of that, once you've said hello to someone, do you say hello to everyone or just a few people? It could be hard to decipher how many people you have to say hello to. For example, you could be walking in the car park, could be one person coming towards you, you could just be nice and friendly, say hello, smile at them. But then if another person comes, do you do the same again, and whatever? It could cause a lot of sort of inner thoughts in your brain, overthinking it all, whereas most people just naturally do it and they either say hello, they don't worry about that. And then finally, the trolley situation. Some autistic people will just avoid getting the trolley. Some people would have no problem whatsoever. It doesn't bother them one bit. It completely unfazes them. For some people that do have issues with it, it could be down to having dyspraxia for actually putting the pound coin or the other coin into the slot and worrying about getting the trolley out. They may be worried about not being able to do it, and if they're on their own, or the parent or family member, partner is away from the situation, they may be anxious about actually doing that and getting it wrong and other people watching them. As well as that, you could be worried about when you actually get the trolley, if there's a big queue on. Some people who are autistic would have no concept and they would just go in straight away and get the trolley and dive in the queue. That doesn't mean they're selfish, it just means that they're less socially aware of the situation. On the other side of it, there are ignorant people out there who will just jump in the queue knowing full well that they are doing that, and therefore that could cause issues for an autistic person who are very rule orientated and sort of just have good manners basically. That could be an issue if someone jumps the queue. You could be too nice, you could just let people go in front of you, and then you end up letting everyone go in front of you. Or because of anxiety, there's a couple of people behind you say, oh, you go first, I'm just sorting my change out, I'm just trying to find a pound coin, let them go, then you quickly want to try it. So there's lots of different issues potentially there. It could be that an autistic person suffers from none of those issues, or most of them. Now bear in mind, this is just before we've even got into the supermarket. We've not even got in yet, we've just literally driven there, or however we've got there, train, bus, and we're just about to enter. So we're finally ready to enter the supermarket. So we've gone through all that potential anxiety, all those issues, potentially just getting there. We're finally ready now to actually enter the supermarket. So first off, you've got the doors you're walking through. A lot of supermarkets have like revolving doors. Now this could bring on issues if you've got someone coming out of the supermarket and you're about to enter. You might not be able to judge how the doors work, you might not know exactly when to walk in, or the door might be just sort of coming round and you don't know whether to just jump in before or not, or sort of waiting for it to go all around again. You could have people behind you, they may be getting impatient if you don't sort of go in at the right time. Now another thing with autism is you could have some autistic people who actually find sort of joy in using the revolving doors, so they might see it as like a stimming sort of pleasure where they want to keep going round and round in the doors, which obviously could cause a lot of problems for parents or partners, friends, whoever they're with. It's not going to kill anyone, but if there's lots of people around, it could cause potential issues. Or you may be autistic and you want to do that, but you know it looks sort of unnatural to some people, most people. Then you've got other types of doors. So you've got an automatic door where you might not sort of know if it's the right door to enter. It might be two doors to the supermarket entrance, you might not know which one to go in, even though you can probably go in both. Some may have ones where you can enter, some where you can leave, so you've got to sort of judge that as well. And then once you're into the supermarket, some have like automatic gates and you don't know whether you're allowed to go through those or whether you're allowed to enter in between the tills or not, because some supermarkets let you, some don't. Or some sort of the automatic gates are open as some days and some are not, so that could be an issue. Then you've got the trolley. If an autistic person is intent on having a trolley, which they may be, may want to do, because it could cause, if an autistic person wants a trolley, it could ease their anxiety because they've got something to hold on to, something to push, something to take their mind off just walking around. So we discussed earlier potential issues actually walking and wondering whether you look weird or arrogant, whatever it is. By having a trolley, it could help that, it could make you feel calmer. On the other side of that, an autistic person, whether it's an autistic child, they may want to sort of play with a trolley, they may want to go and sort of run with the trolley and then fly on it. Now, some adults will want to do that as well. Now, some autistic people may just do it and not sort of have a care in the world, or may not realise that it's not seen as a right thing to do. So that could cause problems for parents. Some autistic people may, this is not just autistic people, this is people in general as well. Some autistic people may want to do that, but they may want to sort of go down an aisle where no one else is, so they can go and try it and sort of go from one length of the aisle to the other. Some kids may want to sort of hide on the bottom of the trolley, may want to lay under it if it's a young child maybe, which might not be a problem for some parents but might be for others. Then you've got, just going back to sort of entering the supermarket, you may see someone you know, they might be just leaving as you're entering, so it might be a bit awkward for you because you don't know whether to stop and talk, whether you just say hello. If you're having a conversation, if it's someone you know well, you might be worried about blocking the entrance up. So then do you actually go outside with the people, or do they stay in with you? Do you move to the side? All these sort of things go into your head. Now, if you're on your own, you may struggle with knowing where to go, or you may think you know where to go in your head, but then your head might just go blank, because mine just went just then. You might actually walk in and think, oh, I thought I need to go to such and such, but I'm not sure. Now, as well as that, there's aisle navigation. So, sorry, someone just come in, it's completely distracted me. So aisle navigation, for example, you may not have a clue where, what food or what product was on which aisle, or you may study it religiously just so you don't have to have issues with that. You may know exactly where each product is on each aisle. You may methodically do that, which could annoy the person you're with, because they might just want to just go around normally in their opinion, whereas you like to do it methodically and say, right, we've done this bit, move on to the next bit, and so on. Another autistic person might just be completely all over the place and go from one and then back to the other and whatever. They might go up one and down and all over the place. Then there's sort of, if you see someone you know and you want to avoid them, it could be like your best friend, could be a close friend, someone you used to work with, could be a relative or a family friend, whatever. You might see them, and if it were normally you're walking down the street and you see him, you just go up and speak to him. But if you're in a different environment where there's loads of people, you might want to actually avoid them. Or you might really want to go and say hello to them, but they don't turn around and see you, so then you're worried how you actually approach them. Do you just shout the name, or do you go and tap on the back, or do you go down another aisle and meet them halfway? Obviously if you're trying to avoid them, then that can be a pain, because you're going down one aisle and constantly looking out for them, which can cause all these sub things in your head when at the end of the day you just go in to shop for some food or whatever it is. Another issue is if you've been looking for something for like half an hour and you think, right, I just need 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, and you think I need to ask a member of staff where the item is, that could cause a bit of anxiety, because you might think, so again, it's approaching a person, it's a social situation. You could get frustrated because you're looking for a staff member and you can never find one, or they're walking down the end of one aisle, you don't know whether to go chasing them down the aisle or shout them or meet them on the end of the next. So that can cause a lot of potential anxiety or stress issues or overthinking issues, which is probably the case. Another instance of when an autistic person may struggle is, say, if they need to go to the toilet. They go to the toilet, they've got to navigate the way there, they might not know where the toilet is as such, so they might have to have actual direction aisle for aisle where to actually go. I'll not get too much into the toilets because that could be another video we could do another day, but once you've come back out of the toilet, you could then think, where are my family, the people I've come with, whoever it is, and they could get lost down on the aisles. So you may need to say to them, look, we will stay exactly where we were before, which is on aisle 6, or it's the bread aisle or whatever it is. Don't know what I did with my hand. So just doing simple tasks like going to the toilet could be a bit of an issue. Another thing is if you forget an item, so you've done the first few aisles, so you've done most of your shopping, you've got to go right back down to the first one. A lot of people in general aren't bothered about that. An autistic person might not be bothered, but some may feel daft for doing that because they've got to go all the way back down. The person they're with may get annoyed at them and say, oh, I don't want to go all the way back down to the start, but they'll just have to sort of deal with it. And the last example I'm going to give, which is a personal one, is people getting in your way. And this one is the biggest issue for me when I'm shopping. There seems to be a lot of people who just sort of aren't aware, something that an autistic person is accused of, not being aware of things, but a lot of people in general aren't aware of actually other people, so the two sort of trapped up in what they're doing, which is fine because you're zoning, you're focusing. I've got more background noises here. So I lost my train of thought there. So yeah, basically, where was I? Sorry about that, let's carry on. So what I was saying is people getting in your way. A lot of people aren't aware of what's going on around them, or they stand in the middle of an aisle with a trolley and you can't sort of get past. That's another bit I was going to say with the trolley a bit earlier, like navigating the trolley. Some people, autistic people, may want the trolley because of what we said earlier, but they may also feel like they can't navigate it, even though the aisles are big enough to have the trolleys down, they may not have that. It could be due to distraction, not having spatial awareness, which means they may struggle with that. Now, another thing is that if you've got a trolley and you've got people in your way, that can cause an extra issue. You could have loads of people in one aisle, which could then mean you get that overcrowded sensation again, too many people, so you end up going onto an aisle which has got no one on it, just so you can get out of the way, even if you want an item that's actually on the aisle where loads of people are. Then if you want to get an item that's on a shelf but someone stood in your way, it brings in the social aspect of it, where you've got to ask them to move. If you ask them and they don't hear you, do you say it again? Do you tap them on the shoulder? Do you kick them out of the way? You know, some autistic people might be very blunt like that. They might just say move out of my way, which obviously wouldn't come across very good. A lot of autistic people want to say things like, they want to say just get out of the way. Why are you stood there? You can see I'm trying to get there. So people in general can cause an issue when you're going shopping. A lot of people are fine, you know, just smile and they're very appreciative of the space. You know, people wanted to all shop together. But yeah, the people, you know, people stood at the end of an aisle blocking it so you can't get past. You know, if it's like elderly people and they're taking the time getting an item off the shelf, you can always understand that, because that's just how it is. But it's when you get people who just don't care and they can move out of the way but they choose not to. So yeah, I could go on a bit more about that, but I think we'll leave that where it is. So the last part is actually paying and actually leaving the shop. So you've obviously got to find a till. So that could be a challenge in itself, because like most supermarkets have lots of tills, so you could be thinking, which till do I choose? Which one looks like it's the least busy? For two reasons. One is just because you want to be the least busiest one, but also because you might look a bit of an idiot in your own mind if you go and pick one that's not actually the least busy, whereas someone else then gets on the least busy one and you feel mugged off by it, even though no one's actually thinking. That's what you might think in your head. Then you've got to place your items on the sort of conveyor belt. You might think, when do I do that? When's the right time for me to do that if someone's in front of me? You might actually not be able to plan that correctly. Then you've got to not worry about it, but if you're nice, you'll think about using the next customer please, next customer thing that you put in. So you might have that in your mind, or you might forget it, and then you might look ignorant if you've not done that, even though no one actually cares about that. No one's actually thinking what you're thinking in most situations. Then you're thinking, do you say hello to the cashier? Obviously, you know you should do. If they don't say hello to you, do you say it to them? Then do you make do you make small talk with them? Do you say it's been nice weather outside? Ask them how the day's been, all that sort of stuff. Of course, you might not know what to do depending on what they're doing. If they look like they're receptive to talking, then fine. If they're not, you might think, well, do I still make small talk or not? A lot of autistic people will struggle with this sort of thing. Then you've got to sort of pack your items in your bags and then pay. A lot of people can't do two things at once, so they'll think, right, I'll just get all the packing done and then I'll pay. But then you might be worried about the next customer coming behind you, thinking, I want to just quickly get out of the way so I'm not taking their room up or slowing their day down, even though no one else is probably thinking that or is bothered about that, but it might be in your head. So yeah, you've done your packing, then you're paying. You've got to remember your card number if you're paying on card, or counting the change out. Have you got enough money on you? Some autistic people will already have the notes ready, so they don't have to worry about counting that out. Then you've got once you've done all that, you have to buy to the cashier. Then you've got to walk out. You might not know which way to walk out. There could be two exits, and you're thinking, which one shall I go to? It doesn't really matter in a lot of cases, but which one do I go to? Then of course you've got to put your trolley. You've got to unpack your bags in your car and then put the trolley back, so you could have the issues of what we said earlier about the trolley. Then you might forget where your car is, because a lot of people forget where the car is if you're autistic, or you know, if you have short-term memory issues or whatever it is. You might be wondering, where did I actually park my car? Then you've got the driving off bit, so the things we discussed earlier. And then obviously the drive home, and then when you get home and you're unpacking your bags, you might be too exhausted once you've gone through all that to actually unpack your bags, but you've got to do that. Or if you're with someone else, you've got to, you know, they'll expect you to be doing that as well. So yeah, that's the journey. I was going to say in a nutshell, a bit longer than a nutshell, whatever the nutshell is. So yeah, maybe things that I've sort of missed off, but I wanted to show how exhaustive it can be for an autistic person just to do a simple task as such, like going to the supermarket. Thanks for your time.